Hi, everyone. Welcome back to The Journey We Take. If this is your first time here, I am really glad you found your way. And if you've been walking alongside me for a while now, thank you. Truly, it means more than you probably realize. So, lately, life hasn't been happening in one place for me. It's been happening more on the move and in the in between. It's been on long stretches of highways, in gas station coffee stops, in sunsets along new horizons never seen before. And maybe I could even add in some loud laughter in the front and the back seat. Because a couple weeks ago, my family and I, we traveled across the country from the West Coast all the way to the East Coast. So mile by mile, state by state, we were all together in our little tiny hatchback. And must I mention, we also had our doggy, Nardi, with us. So it was a full packed vehicle. But anyway, even now, after being home for a bit, I still feel like there are parts of me out there on the road somewhere, just tucked into the different deserts and just lingering in the mountains that we saw scattered across highways, probably, because all those places and the different scenery in the car, they gave me a little too much time to think, but I feel like in the best way. It's just kind of funny, I feel like, how a journey can end, but the shifting doesn't. It just continues in a way. You can be back in your routine, back in your bed, going back to work, just back in your life, and still feel a bit changed. This wasn't my first time doing something like this. It was actually, I think, my eighth time crossing the country, if I'm not mistaken. So it was like my eighth time not alone with my husband. And there's like a rhythm that I feel like we've grown into. The way we pack, the way we move, the way we sit in silence without it ever really feeling heavy, the inside jokes, the playlists that we share, and just like this unspoken understanding that sometimes the road is for talking and sometimes it's just for being. And so I feel this comfort in that kind of familiarity. And there's safety in knowing how someone moves through long days and longer miles. But this time it was a bit different. This time we had our son with us, and watching him experience the world like that, just watching his curiosity and this quiet awe in the way that he took everything in, it slowed me down. And I feel like that alone softened me, and it just reminded me that journeys aren't just about getting somewhere, they're about who we become and just becoming someone while we're getting there. It reminded me that we're not just passing through these places, within them, we're building memories and we're collecting these moments and creating the stories that one day he'll tell without even realizing where they began. And that alone changed everything for me, just acquiring that perspective. When you're, um, again, when you're not anchored to the routine, when every horizon's unfamiliar, and when the scenery just keeps shifting in front of you, I think you start to pay attention to life and the world around you in a different way. Not just to where you are, but to who you're with, to how you're feeling, to what's stirring in you that doesn't usually get that space when life is moving fast. There's something transformative about being in motion. So I, to the core of it, feel like traveling across the country, it stretches something in you. Just in those plains that seem to go on forever, and the deserts that I've experienced that feel both empty and full at the same time. And you see these different scenes, mountains, for example, that make you feel small in the best way. And there's the forest, how, for example, I live among a lot of redwood trees, and that alone, going out into those different forests with these trees that have been around for ages, they just feel alive with history and stillness. And I feel like all of these scenes, they're communicating something to us. And I think that's life is so much bigger than our worries. It's wider than all of our routines, and it's deeper than any of the boxes that we put ourselves in. And honestly, in a world that feels so heavy right now, that reminder hit me differently because everywhere you turn lately, there's tension, there's division, anger, politics, war, opinions screaming over each other, and people are so certain they're right that they forget the person in front of them is even human. And it can start to feel like the world is shrinking, unfortunately. Like everything is closing in and we're more disconnected than ever. But standing in places that have existed long before our arguments, long before these systems that have been created, just long before any of this noise, you realize how small all of that really is in the grand scheme of things. Not unimportant, not saying that, but it's not everything. It made me wish so deeply that more of us could step back far enough to just see it, to zoom out, and just to remember that most of us are just trying to survive and just to love our families and friends and to protect them and to feel a sense of belonging in this world, that beneath the politics and the labels and the lines that we seem to draw ourselves, we are so much more far alike than we are different. And I think that's what my message is with this podcast and why this whole trip was speaking to me so differently and so deeply in a way. And then I just like to add, because I was reading The Alchemist again for the first, well, not for the first time. I was reading The Alchemist again for, I think, like the second or third time. I recently found it in my storage unit and I let a friend read it. And I was thinking that maybe I should reread it. So I was reading the foreword the other night before I was drafting out this episode. And there is a line in that foreword that says something like, the story of one person is the story of everyone, and one man's quest is the quest of all humanity. And standing out there in all of that open space, I was so privileged to witness and experience again. I felt that in my bones because when you really look at it, we're all searching for the same things. We're searching for meaning, safety, again, love and freedom, peace and purpose, all of these things. We just go about it in different ways. We wear different stories. We carry different wounds, but the longing underneath, it's shared. And in the middle of all that vastness, you start to feel it. It's just this humbling, that soft reminder that we are tiny pieces of a much larger story. You know, again, not unimportant, just not the center. And honestly, there's something freeing about that, something that grounds you and just makes you want to be kinder and softer with people, even when it can be hard. For me, having my husband beside me for the 8th time doing something like this felt grounding. And there's just this ease between us now. We don't have to fill every mile with conversation. We know when to talk, when to joke, and when to just let the music play and basically just exist in the same space without needing anything from each other. And I think that kind of comfort doesn't happen overnight. It's the kind that's built over years and miles in shared life. But then again, there was our son, and just watching him experience all of this for the first time added a whole new layer to the journey. His questions and then the way that he took in the different landscapes that he had never seen before. Yeah, it was just nice to have that experience from his perspective and notice different moments that maybe I would have otherwise rushed past because, again, I've had these experiences before, but it just reminded me how powerful first experiences are and how magical the world can feel whenever you're seeing it with fresh eyes. And I think as adults, it is easy to sometimes forget that kind of wonder if we're not careful and being mindful of it. So yeah, traveling with both of them, the familiarity of my husband and the newness of my son felt like standing in two timelines at once, like who we've been and who we're becoming and who my son is just beginning to be. And that combination is something that I'll carry for a long time. There are definitely places that I feel like don't just impress you. When we were out there, I felt like a great reset button had been pressed. Like, you don't even realize how loud your own head is or has been until you're standing somewhere that doesn't ask anything of you. It's just no expectations. It's space. And I think that a couple of the national parks that we went to, like Canyonlands and Arches in Utah, those places specifically, this trip felt like that for me. Just places that were shaped by times, not timelines, and by patience, not pressure, and just by years of becoming. It wasn't like nature had any kind of urgency. And I could feel that in my body, that the world felt much bigger and I felt smaller, but not in a bad way, not in I don't matter kind of way, in a more like, okay, I don't really have to carry everything kind of way. It rearranged me, nothing dramatic, even though that kind of sounds dramatic. It's not like a lightning bolt moment, just a little internal shift that I think I needed to just feel lighter in life, as I referenced the last episode about carrying, going into this new year, feeling lighter and not carrying so much heaviness. But anyway, standing there, it was hard to take my problems as seriously as I normally do, not because they're not real, but because suddenly they weren't the only thing. You know, the sky seemed much bigger and the land much older, and the moment was just expanded. And I realized how often I shrink the world down to the size of my to-do list, and how probably that's a lot of us, and how we sometimes let stress take up space that could be filled with wonder that we tend to lose as we grow older, and how we sometimes just forget that life is happening outside of our own heads. And I think we all need to witness places that remind us of that. I don't want to lecture. I just want to kind of use this experience that I had to maybe inspire others to get out there and see the world for their own two eyes, and to really allow it to change something within you, because I definitely believe that traveling is a beautiful way to do just that. And yeah, I just love that. I love how nature has that way of humbling you without humiliating you, and grounding you without making you feel actually small. It just reminds you that you're part of something and not separate from it. And I think that kind of perspective, that shift in perspective, it doesn't really feel heavy. It just is refreshing. It's like opening a window in a stuffy room. You need that fresh air sometimes. And I would just wish more of us could experience that, especially in a world that feels tense and divided most days. Because it's hard to stay hardened whenever you're standing in something that doesn't even care about your opinions or your labels or your status. It just exists, and it's inviting you to exist too. And yeah, some places don't just show you beautiful scenery. They do much more than that if you let them, as I'm trying to say here. They remind you to just breathe and look up, and that there's just more happening than whatever is stressing you out. And that can be a really comforting thing. Yeah, traveling with my family, I feel like definitely changed the experience entirely, because it wasn't really just about the views anymore. It was more about watching them take it all in, and the excitement that we got to share, and the random comments from the back seat, and that "are we almost there" energy, and the tired eyes and random bursts of laughter. It's the kind of togetherness that we had that happens when you're sharing a tiny space for a very long time. Long drives, I think, do something funny to people. They strip away that schedule, that routine, all the distractions, the I'll get to you later. There's just no rushing off to the next thing because you really can't. You can't split up into separate rooms. There's really no multitasking. You're literally just in the car. It's just you, the car, blah, that's it. But yeah, it was just us. And honestly, I love that because some of our best moments weren't honestly the overlooks or the landmarks. They were just those in between moments, the gas station snack debates, in the music choices that we made, and the jokes that, made absolutely no sense unless you were actually there. And, those random conversations that started with one thing and ended up somewhere completely different. Like the fact that I packed an entire 48 pack of Costco Welch's gummies, just in case we might have gotten stranded in the desert with no food, because obviously fruit snacks would be our main source of survival, right? Anyway, my husband and son did not let me live that one down. Not even a little. Every time we stopped, it was like, good thing we have the gummies. Or, yeah, are the gummies part of our emergency plan? Because that's what it seemed like. Anyway, I stand by it. Stand by it because that's the stuff you remember, right? That's the stuff that becomes family lore. That's the story that will probably get brought up at random holidays 5 years from now. I realized something out there. These memories aren't always made in the big moments. Sometimes they're just made in the ordinary ones that happen to be shared. And there's just something special about experiencing the world with the people you love. And it's like an anchor that we need sometimes when life has us drifting all over the place. Makes everything feel way more real, like we're not just passing through life, we're actually in it. And I think that's what I love the most, not just seeing the new places, which I always love, but just seeing my people in those places, seeing who they are when they're curious, when they're tired, when they're excited, when they're just being themselves. It's a different kind of connection. It's a deeper kind, but it also a really fun one. Because yeah, we saw awesome, incredible things, but we also laughed a lot, we snacked a lot, and probably needed more coffee than we'd like to admit, and definitely did not need 48 packs of gummies, but we had them anyway. And somehow all of that mattered just as much. Yeah, and every season of life, I believe, asks something different from us. And this season, now, in retrospect, I feel like asked me to slow down and to observe and receive, which is not always easy for someone like me. I've talked about it many times in the last few episodes, but I think it's a theme that is striking to me because I'm within the realization that we are always becoming. And that's just what it is. It's not in a rushed or pressured fix yourself kind of way, but in a slow unfolding. Like life is slowly revealing pieces of us that we didn't even know were there. It's slowly chiseling away at the grand masterpiece that we are already. And I know I'm not the same person I was a year ago. I'm not the same person I was 5 years ago. And I probably will not be the same person I am a year from now. And for the first time, I think that doesn't scare me. It just feels honest and human, and it feels right. And travel didn't just show me the new places, it showed me new parts of myself, which I'm very grateful for. I know that I don't have to have it all figured out, and those parts made me feel more present and patient with what is becoming of me. And I think the road had a lot to do with that, because when you're moving like that, when your life is reduced to what fits in the car, when your schedule is loose, when your only real job is to get to the next place, you just start to notice what actually matters. You realize how little you need, how much you carry that you could probably set down, and how often you complicate things that are actually quite simple. And I learned that it's okay to not have a plan for every mile, that some of the best moments happen when you don't force them, and being present is way more valuable than being productive. And that rest is not laziness, and slowing down doesn't mean that you're falling behind. I learned that movement doesn't always mean progress, and stillness doesn't always mean stuck. It became more familiar to me that the idea of comfort and growth can exist at the same time. And you don't have to be struggling to be changing. You don't have to be lost to be becoming. And yeah, maybe that's just the biggest thing that the road gave me. It just gave me permission. Permission to not be in process and not to feel like I need to rush my life, and just to let things happen instead of forcing them. And I think we all need that sometimes. We need to be reminded of that sometimes, because we do live in a world that tells us to hurry and to achieve and to optimize, fix, and always be more. But out there in all that space, I really didn't feel the need to be more. I felt the freedom to just be, and that felt like enough. I don't really think the journey is always about where you're going. A lot of the time, it's more about who we are while we're getting there, about what we notice, about what we hold on to, and what we let go of. Becoming, I think it's somewhere or something that we're doing all the time, whether we even see it or not. So wherever you're at right now, whether life is smooth or it's been a bumpy ride, if it's busy or if it's slow, or just in between, it's okay. It's okay to be figuring things out, and it's okay to not have it all together. And it's okay to just be. And I think that's really the gist of the message that I am trying to share today, because I did want to share about my traveling experience with you guys, but also the message that I feel like was revealing itself to me as I was out there on the road. And while we're on the topic of sharing journeys, I just want to put out a little invitation. One of the things I've been thinking about is how much richer this journey gets whenever it is shared, and that the journey we take isn't just about my path, it's about all of our paths. So here's the call. If you're an artist, a maker, a musician, a writer, someone creating something small or big, and you just want to share your journey, your process, your story, I'd love to feature you. I will be willing to write a little blog post for you and share your own journey, because this space is meant to highlight creativity and curiosity and growth, and I just want to expand it with others who are walking their own path. So whether, you make that handmade jewelry, or you craft, or just create in little ways that lights you up, let's collaborate. I, again, will showcase your work on the blog. I would love to have you on for an interview. Let's just inspire each other and maybe help someone else see their own path a little more clearly. So if that sounds like you, please feel free to reach out. I'd love to hear from you and bring your journey into the space. Thank you all for listening. Thank you all for being here. And again, thank you all for walking this journey with me. If this episode resonated at all, feel free to share it, rate it, or send it to someone who might need it. For now, just keep becoming one step at a time. And I will catch you guys on the next episode.